surveyed nearly 50,000 Americans about their news consumption and feelings about ads placed around certain articles. Can you break down for us what are the top line findings of this new research that you say are so important for the future of American news?
Sure. What we've observed is that when it comes to advertising, a lot of the advertisers were very concerned. What if my ad appears next to an explosive news story or controversies as opposed to kind of sports or entertainment? So we set out to survey the public with 50,000 surveys to see how they reacted to different sets of ads in different situations. And what we found is there really isn't much difference. That all this talk about brand safety seems to have been overblown, and it's been systematically demonetizing the advertising against news. And that was creating a vicious cycle of news getting less and less advertising, sports and entertainment more and more advertising, and journalism less and less able to afford the kinds of reporters to create quality journalism.
So, there was a Northwestern University report out in November saying that the U.S. loses, on average, 2.5 newspapers per week, and that rate is only increasing. Do you think the findings that you are releasing today have within them data points or messages for publishers that can counteract that trend?
I think this is very important for the future of news because it says advertisers, 25% of the public are news junkies. 11% of the public are not reachable through sports and entertainment, but only news. And these are great upscale information consuming consumers that you should be advertising to. And by the way, rather than paying attention to all this talk about brand safety, pay attention to what's happening to newspapers and journalism. And you can really actually fulfill the social good for your brand of helping further good news.
So, were you surprised by these findings or any statistic within what you're releasing today?
Well, I wasn't surprised so much because I'd always suspected that this had been overblown. And in fact, when I ran a $2 billion budget at Microsoft, I redistributed a lot of the budget over to news and found that it was the best performing sites because, as I always say, people don't throw laptops down the field. They use them to consume information. And so I suspected this, and so this study very much confirmed it. Look, it was interesting to look at kind of key groups like moms and high value or high income consumers, and to see kind of very similar types of findings. There are slight differences in how studies perform. Stories perform. Sports did a little bit better. Some Biden stories did a little bit worse with Republicans, but these differences were overall minor.
I wanted to ask you about that because I noticed, especially among those higher income consumers, it wasn't exactly the same. There are a few percentage points differences in how an ad performed when it was next to Trump or Biden versus sports or entertainment. So what do you think the message is for the independence of publishers? Because I think what I worry about is that a cash-strapped publisher will see this data, will see that, yeah, the numbers are roughly the same, but I might be able to make a little more money if I invest in sports and entertainment at the expense of political coverage or investigations?
Well, that all depends upon the rates. So if what you see here is that they perform roughly equal, but there's so much more competition to get on sporting events and entertainment events and less competition to get on news, and particularly news about politics, then you'll find that most likely the rates that you're going to be able to achieve are much lower relative to the performance. And so you're missing out on getting to this important group of consumers, and you're missing out on the good rates.